Welcome to the Land Your Bet Sports Betting Show. Finally, a nice big day here, up more than 2 units on Friday after those games have all finished in the men's Olympics here. So we're looking good, feeling much better about where we're at as we head into the final games of group stage. 2 games on the slate here for Saturday. I've got picks mostly from the U.S. game against Puerto Rico. I think there's a lot that we can understand from this one, mostly that the USA is completely through. They need to win by about 5 points to make sure that they secure the number 1 overall seed based on point differential after Germany waxed France in the game here on Friday. So we're going to be using that to make all these plays here for that USA game against the Puerto Rico team. Let's take a quick look at the show record and get right into these picks. Reminder about Outlier.bet, the premier tool here for sports betting as you're looking to research things and get the stats that I'm using to make the plays that I make. Outlier.bet, get a free trial. If you do use the link that is in the description of the video, you'll go ahead and get yourself 7 free days to test it out. See if you like it. It's what I'm using on the live streams when we do those throughout the NBA season and get back to it in the NFL season. So definitely recommend jumping in the description of the video to grab that link. Almost back to even here, 11-13. This is how it goes. Honestly, this is what the NBA playoffs were. It's what I've been telling people. Need some data to be able to understand what we can bet on moving forward. We've got plenty of info now to at least be able to make a handful of bets here. I've got 5 plays for you guys I'm going to go through now. Let's get this thing above 500 back into the plus money as we head into the quarterfinals. First play is a guy that I'm all over for this one. That's Bam Adebayo there. We got 2 plays for him. One is going to be the over 5.5 boards for better than plus money. That's on DraftKings. So is the rebound leader prop for Bam as well. Plus 500, just a fifth of a unit there on that to get a full unit back if we do hit that bet, right? So for Bam, what this comes down to is going to be rotations and understanding what Steve Kerr is going to be looking to do here in this game against the Puerto Rican squad, where the U.S. is minus 34.5 favorites, right? So not expecting much of a close game, not exactly scrubs on the end of the bench to just sort of fill in, during garbage time of this one. But we do know who's not in the sort of elite of the tiers that Steve Kerr has shown with his players. Bam is a guy who's gotten consistent minutes, but now we're talking about a situation where Embiid is starting. We know that, and that means that one of AD or Bam are going to have to see their minutes decrease. I'm banking on that being Anthony Davis because we saw him tweak his ankle in the last game there that they won against South Sudan. He had to sort of come out in the first half for a bit, played the whole fourth or most of the fourth quarter again, but there's no need to throw a guy out there who's pretty, who is at least a little bit more hurt than the other two in Bam and Embiid. And you're going to want him there moving forward throughout the rest of the quarterfinals and beyond. You're going to want as healthy of an Anthony Davis as possible. I would say he's the best big man for this team. I think Steve Kerr knows that as well and would love to have AD out there in the games that matter the most. So that means Bam can get a few more minutes here to keep him happy. And if we see him get at least 20 minutes, which is what I expect him to get because we've seen him get that now in the games already, right? Both games he's played that amount of time. He went over in one, under in the other, but most importantly, he's playing against this Puerto Rican squad now. So if he sees 20 to 22 minutes or so, we're talking about him going up against the worst rebounding team in this tournament, worst team in this tournament as well. They have now been out-rebounded by 38 total rebounds in 2 games. That is a massive disparity, and that should be the case here once again for the U.S. If Bam is on the floor, I really like him to be the one gobbling up plenty of those boards. Very excited to be able to bet on Ant Edwards finally. There has not been a right moment for it because we didn't really have this inclination that he's going to get that many more minutes. And when he's on the floor with KD, LeBron, Steph, as we call them, the big 3 for USA, then he's not necessarily the number 1 option, right? However, in this game, I'm taking him over 12.5 points for even money because I do believe that he'll be on the floor as the number 1, if not number 2, number 1 option very consistently because you don't need that much KD, Steph, and LeBron. So with that in mind, the backups are going to get a few more minutes, which is AD, probably, or Ant rather. First time he's probably been considered a backup ever in his basketball career, I would imagine. And even though he's only played an average of 18 minutes in the 2 games, he's taking 15 shots so far in 36 minutes that he's played. So we know he's not scared to shoot. We know when he's on the floor with anyone not named KD, LeBron, Steph, he's willing to just fire away. And even when those guys are on the floor, 1 or 2 of them, he's still very much so willing to fire away. There's no fear there. So I do think he's going to consistently be a top option. Love the 12.5 points, putting him out there for about 8 to 10 shots in this one. And that should be good enough, especially with the way he's been shooting the 3 ball to get us 13 points. All of this logic leads me to go under for Captain L'America, as is now my new favorite nickname for LeBron, under 27.5 PRA. Now, this was only available on Bet365 at this number, so I do believe that it's going to drop here. I would take this as low as 25.5 PRA for LeBron, but if you do take the 25.5, I'd make sure you're getting -110 odds or better, right? Because it's LeBron, so it's scary to ever take an under. He's going to go out and bring it all no matter how long he plays. But the key is I don't think he's going to need to play that much. They only need to win by 5 points in this game to secure that #1 overall seed and play a slightly worse team, most likely in the quarterfinals, the first round of elimination. So with that in mind, rest the dude that you know is going to be your most important player throughout the rest of the tournament. This is the alpha of this squad. We've seen it now time and again, and Steve Kerr has made that clear with his rotations, and LeBron's made that clear with the way that he's turned back the clock and looks like it's like 2017 again, and he's far and away the best player in the league. That's kind of where he's at now, and everybody's acquiescing to him as top dog. But we don't need him in this game. As a U.S., I say that we, because I'm from America, we don't need him in this game. He's going to come out probably pretty hot. Don't be worried about that. He did the same thing against South Sudan, came out really strong, put up like 10 points, had 4 boards all in the first half, and barely played in the second half because they didn't need him. He played some of the fourth quarter with the other starters, and that was about it because they still needed point differential versus South Sudan. Now they don't. They just have to win by 5. So if they're up by 20, 15 at the half, like they definitely should be against Puerto Rico, then we're not going to necessarily see too much LeBron in the second half. And I don't think he's going to be good out there enough to get these PRA total. So I like all of the props together because he can't do all of them that much in the limited time that he's going to have on the floor in this game. This last pick is from the Puerto Rico squad, and it's Chris Ortiz to go over 6.5 points. -110 on DraftKings. You can get some 7.5 points if you want and get plus money, or even money is what it was at, plus 100. Not necessarily good enough for me to go ahead and take another point for another 10 cents, if that makes sense, right? So I like the 6.5 more than the 7.5, but if you only have 7.5, I still like that for even money. I understand how chalky, or let's say noob fishy this might seem because of the fact that he just had a big game where he played 30 minutes, had 19 points, took 14 shots. That is definitely an outlier. All those things are inflated because this team was down and lost by 40 points. So that did mean that they were able to clear the benches a bit more. But it also told us a few things, right? One, this game is likely to be similar to the Serbia blowout of Puerto Rico in that it's going to be a blowout. In which case, we just saw the Puerto Rico coach very happy to go to his bench early and often and play guys way more minutes than his starters, as we saw the bench guys get a ton of minutes, including Ortiz to lead the way with 30. Now, normally he's going to play 22 to 25 in a normal game, right? This is not going to be a normal game. And what we saw from the Serbia game that also helps us in this bet is that Jose Alvarado and Tremont Waters, the starters for Puerto Rico, those dudes only played 17 minutes in this last game. Well, they take 60% of the shots because they're the two best players. But when they're only out there for a combined 34 minutes, then there's less shots for them to take and plenty more to go around. So the key for Ortiz is, does he get the attempts? Because when he's gotten the attempts as a member of the Puerto Rico squad, he's gone over. 6 of the 10 games that he's played with PR this season, this year, calendar year, he's gone over in 6 of them, under in 4 of them. The 6 overs, almost 10 shots attempts per game. In the 4 unders, 3 shots per game, right? So the usage is really all that matters. He's shown to be an efficient player. He likes to get out in transition and play fast. So if the fast break is there, he'll be the one very happy to get out onto it and score. He can hit that 3 as well. Really good shout out from Hannah, not Hannah, in the Discord, calling out how the 3s are a really good play if you get some plus money on him, because he does need to hit 3s, probably especially against the U.S., where they have really good defense down low. We should see him actually opt for a 3-pointer a bit more. My main thing, regardless with the points, is does he get the usage? Does he get the shot attempts? With the amount of minutes that I think he's going to be playing without Alvarado and Waters in this game, because also keep in mind, Jose Alvarado tweaked his ankle really badly in the first game of this tournament, had to come out, played well against South Sudan, didn't really seem to have any spark in the last game. He wasn't nearly as quick. He wasn't able to push off that ankle, which seems like he'd be out for a couple weeks if this was the NBA and he had that same injury. He really wants to play for his country, so he'll be out there. Don't think he'll be effective, in which case Ortiz should be getting a bunch more shots. I've got him at about 10 shot attempts in this game, according to the math that I put together. So I like him to get 7 points out of those shots. And that is all the time I have for you in this one. Last group stage video before we do get next week into the elimination rounds. I'll have a video on Monday. Looking to have a live stream as well with Prop Bomb on Monday so that we can get ahead of the Tuesday night and Tuesday morning games, rather, that are going to be coming around. So definitely want to jump in there. I'll be throwing all that info in the Discord. If you're not yet in there, use that link, get in there, and get what you need from everybody that's putting some really good looks out there, especially as we all help each other out for the Olympics. Until I see you next, happy betting.